Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Ryan, and I'm a guide for the Central Park Conservancy. The Central Park Conservancy is a nonprofit private organization who takes care of Central Park, keeping it clean and green year-round. Our mission is to preserve and celebrate Central Park as a sanctuary from urban life, enhancing the enjoyment and the well-being of all. Thanks for joining us. We know that getting to Central Park is not so easy right now, so we want to continue to help bring the park to you through our weekly walks occurring every Wednesday at 12:30. These little lunchtime strolls taking you through different areas. So thanks everybody for joining us. Today we're going to be exploring the Children's District, a somewhat lesser known area in the southern section of Central Park. We're going to be together for about 15 minutes or so, and just about all of the pictures you're going to see were taken by myself within the past week or so. We will see a few images that I accessed from the Central Park Conservancy's archives, the New York Public Library photo archives, as well as the Museum of the City of New York and the New York City Parks Department photo archives, publicly accessed archives that you can access right at home. Real quick before we begin, just a couple announcements. I do want to announce a couple upcoming programs that we have. Of course, we do have these weekly walks occurring every Wednesday at 12:30. So if you do want to join next week, my colleague Ian is going to be taking you around the North End. And we have a special surprise because tomorrow we have a tree tour at 3 p.m. with myself. So Thursday, December 3rd, you can join me for a tree tour at 3 p.m. And then just after that at 5:15 p.m. tomorrow is going to be the tree lighting on the Harlem Mere. So if you want to catch that Christmas tree flotilla lit up, it's going to be at 5:15, virtually streamed on our Facebook Live channel. We also have on Tuesday, December 8th at 3 p.m., a Crossing Central Park tour, as well as on Wednesday, again, that continuing weekly walk series. So a lot of different programs to check out, and any of these past programs, like the weekly walks you wanted to see, are recorded and put on our YouTube channel. If you do check the chat box, my colleagues will be dropping some of the links for these programs now, as well as at the end of the program. So let's jump into it. Before we begin our walk of the Children's District, of course, a little bit of housekeeping. A lot of you know we're using Zoom, so feel free to check that chat box for those links, as well as if you want to say hello and let us know where you're joining us from. If you do have a question, use the Q&A feature, and my colleagues Jose, Ian, and Juan are all on the back end answering any questions you might have. Last thing you're going to see pop up are some visitor polls that I'm going to launch throughout the walk today, like one right now. We're going to start off with an easy one that you can vote in that'll disappear after. And then once it's done, I'll bring these polls back up. We'll see what the results are. But the one we're going to start off with is, have you ever heard of the Children's District? And if so, have you ever visited it? This map is the area we're going to be walking around today. And what you're going to see is the Children's District is really just the south end of Central Park, between about 59th Street and 65th Street, and from about 5th Avenue to 8th Avenue. It's nicknamed the Children's District because a lot of the amazing features we're going to see today that are there from both the past and the present that cater towards kids. We'll explain a little bit about why it's in the southern end and not in the northern end or the middle of the park, as well as see some of the features from the past and the present. So we'll begin our walk just outside the park on 67th Street and 5th Avenue. Entering the park on, again, another kind of overcast day. We're out of the warm weather now, but we still get the nice warm feelings and colors from the park. So as we enter the park over here, we'll immediately see one of these signs. This is a paradise for all of us here in the city of New York. One of the signs from the My Central Park campaign, using the hashtag #MyCentralPark. You can share a line, a story, a favorite memory, anything about why Central Park is special. This one, again, this is a paradise for all of us here in the city of New York. Of course, Central Park is certainly a paradise for those of us physically here in New York, but I think it's even a paradise emotionally and mentally for all of us that get to even just come on these weekly walks. Some people that may have had plans to take vacation in the park that weren't able to this year. We hope these weekly walks allow a little bit of a respite, even virtually, through many of the people that attend. And we're happy to have so many. We have about 300 people here with us today. So thank you again for attending these walks. As we walk into the park, we're going to bear left. And what we're going to start by doing is exploring some of the features of the Children's District that are more modern and exist today. As we pass by, we're going to come up to a portion of the Central Park Zoo, and we're going to see one of these modern children's children's district type of features today, which is the Tisch Children's Zoo, a smaller subsection of the Central Park Zoo, which is geared towards especially young kids. It does have a much smaller scale version of it, so kids can really get down and low and see things on their level, as well as offering a petting zoo, bringing a little bit of physical connection to wildlife and to the park. A really fun feature of the Central Park Zoo, and a great feature for younger kids. As we do continue walking down just past the Tisch Children's Zoo, another great children's feature, the Delacorte clock, which was dedicated here in 1965 and is a gift of philanthropist George Delacorte, who also gave other friendly features like the Alice in Wonderland statue. This cool clock plays tunes between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. every half an hour. It'll sing one of 32 different nursery rhymes. And those little bronze figures up top will move around the carousel. A really fun little area over here that really lights up this part of the children's district. And as we walk by this beautiful little Delacorte clock, we can see part of the main area of the zoo. And if we walk up to the fence, we can see what this family is enjoying, a sight that's loved by both kids and adults, the sea lion exhibit, with one of the sea lions just poking out on the right over here. A great area right on the southeastern section of Central Park, and really part of today's modern children's district. As we keep walking past the zoo, we'll bear a right, and we're gonna go under the lesser traveled in-scope arch, which was created in the 1870s out of pink and gray tunnel that takes us under this carriage road. And as we come out, we'll bear right, coming up towards another familiar site here in Central Park. And as we bear around this curve, we're gonna come to an area that I'm sure a lot of people have seen before. We're gonna see a nice little view of Central Park South here. And what we're gonna come up to is Walman Rink, an area that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And I'm gonna actually end this poll and launch the results right now. And we can get an idea of who's really joined us for the children's, or who's really visited the children's district area before. So sharing the results, we can see that a majority of people haven't really heard of the children's district, but a lot of people seem to have visited this area because the southern section is really popular. Again, children's district's kind of a nickname because of all these children's features being placed together. I'll learn a little bit more about that in just a moment. But as we come back away from this map, we can see a view from Walman Rink, which kind of is a very classic view for Central Park here. And what we can see over here is this beautiful view of ice skaters, a friendly, familiar sight here in Central Park. And what this view kind of helps us, or at least for me, takes us back to a little bit of normalcy, a little normal of a view that we're going to see during the winter time here in Central Park. But if you come here during the spring and summer months, you're going to see that this area really caters towards kids because this area becomes an area known as Victorian Gardens. And Victorian Gardens is really just a little amusement park that pops up for kids. This amusement park has been in the park since about 2003. And they do have about a dozen or so different rides that again cater towards kids, kind of different ages. Oh, there we go. I apologize if the internet is lagging and if the connection's a little odd. Might be experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. Again, I apologize, but if the connection does persist, I'll reconnect and just hang tight and we'll continue our walk. Looks like we're good now, but here we can see Victorian Gardens, as well as some of the different rides, like a little miniature Ferris wheel here, but a fun option for kids during the summer months. As we exit this area and bear to the left, we'll come up to another archway here in Central Park, which is known as Drip Rock Arch. Drip Rock Arch is going to be a brick and sandstone arch that was created here in the park in about the 1860s. And I apologize again, it looks like we're having a little bit of trouble loading our presentation to, again, Drip Rock Arch, one of about the 33 bridges and arches in the park today. Again, this one being made of brick and sandstone. And actually just the base of this arch, I noticed something else, a little tree. We're in the children's district, so it's only appropriate we talked about child-sized trees, and we can see a little sapling. It looks like it's a species of dogwood tree planted over here, getting a little help from this gardening bag, but only appropriate we share some of these childlike trees. This dogwood is a small tree that's more shrubby in size, but a nice little addition to Drip Rock Arch's base. And as we walk through Drip Rock Arch and hang a left, we're going to come up to a wonderful sight to see in the park in New York City, public bathrooms. One of the most exciting sights to see when you're traveling around New York. These public bathrooms actually have something really special though just behind them. What is located behind them is Hector Playground, the largest of Central Park's 21 permanent playgrounds. It's about 1.8 acres, and it was originally created around 1927, although it originally looked very different. A lot of the original playgrounds looked like this, very paved over areas that had equipment that was wheeled in during the day and wheeled out at night. Sometimes there wasn't much equipment at all. We do see a lot of these playgrounds getting really refurbished throughout the 1900s, and we see Hector Playground making a grand change, going from this kind of barren area to a very immersive landscape that has materials and equipment for all different ages. We can see a perfect blend of architecture into the landscape as well. As we pan over to our right, we can see some more of this beautiful playground, which features wooden features and wooden architecture along the bases and sides, with the beautiful kind of concrete and stone material right in the middle. And it perfectly blends into this rock that we're standing on, which is magnificent in itself. This rock is basically a playground as well. It's known as Umpire Rock. And if we turn around, we can see why it's called Umpire Rock. Turning around, we can see some baseball diamonds located just in the background, which make up Hector ball fields. If we walk a little bit closer, we can see some of the 6 baseball diamonds that make up Hector ball fields. Baseball would eventually become a popular activity, and we see baseball diamonds being added to the park in the 1900s. Amazingly enough, actually, you wouldn't see adults playing in the park until about the 1920s. Early on, it was just boys, and boys that were doing good in school. They needed to have good markings on the report cards in order to play. But we eventually see baseball working its way into the park. Prior to these baseball diamonds being added, you would have seen boys playing here because this was actually the playground for Central Park. Basically looking the same without the baseball diamonds, this was originally denoted as the play area for Central Park for kids to enjoy. Not really much as we can see to do over there, but using a kid's imagination, this giant field and area to play was probably limitless. So a lot of really amazing transformations that just kind of changed over time as different activities became popular. But a historic area that today serves 6 baseball diamonds. And as we walk around just this north section over here of what was the play area for the park, Hector ball fields, we'll come up to yet another very classic historic use or feature of the children's district. And as we come around this bend, we're going to see a building just tucking through the trees on our left. And as we look a little closer, we'll see what that building is. It is closed right now, so maybe you don't have an exact idea, but I'll give you a little hint. Any ideas? This is going to be the Carousel. The Carousel, a famous feature today presently in Central Park, is actually a historic one. Originally, the Carousel was placed in the park in 1871. The depiction of it looks a little something like this. This is from Appleton's journal, their discovery kind of guide journal from August 3rd, 1872. Originally, the Carousel was made entirely of wood, and there was actually a mule that operated it. A mule attached to kind of a little turnstile would pull this carousel around. And the carousel operator would stomp his foot when it was time for the mule to start, and then stomp again when it was time for the mule to stop. Eventually, this all wooden carousel would be replaced by a steam-powered carousel, which actually burnt down. And then the replacement to that one burnt down again. So the 2 replacement steam-powered carousels that were burnt down respectively in 1924 and 1950. Eventually, the carousel that we see in there today was found in the 1900s in an old bus terminal nearby Coney Island, Brooklyn. This original carousel was constructed in 1908 and had been refurbished, restored, and brought into Central Park. By about the 70s or 80s, we see this carousel really opening up, allowing people to really make it a staple of present-day Central Park. And of course, continue the historic use of a carousel here in Central Park. But a beautiful piece of artwork that is protected by the newly constructed brick and Philadelphia red brick, as well as Milwaukee cream brick on the outside to protect that carousel during rougher weather, as well as from fires, hopefully. And this brick and design actually matches the arch just opposite of the carousel, which is Playmates Arch, featuring the same cream city yellow brick and Philadelphia red brick, as well as some beautiful granite bases. As we walk through Playmates Arch, we'll come up to an area that is a little fenced off right now. We're coming up to an area, the Dairy Visitor Center, which is one of our 5 visitor centers that currently is not open. The reason this one's not open is because it's undergoing some restoration and construction. The dairy, as you may have guessed from its name, used to have milk. There weren't cows here, but originally what this structure looked like and served was beverages and snacks, as well as little toys and games for kids to rent and play with on the surrounding landscapes. The dairy was created sort of as a concessionary stand, but again, catering more towards kids, offering clean milk and clean beverages to drink, as well as fun things to rent and play with. Like a lot of things, not only did the uses, but the physical structures did not hold up over time, and things like the dairy fell into disrepair. This was at one point during the 1970s and really throughout the 1900s what the dairy looked like. The building was closed off and that wooden loggia had fallen apart. Around 1955, that wooden loggia was taken down. But luckily, the Conservancy and other groups helped to restore this area between 1979 and 1981, bringing it back to its former glory, both the building as well as that wooden loggia outside. And as we can see again, the dairy is undergoing its second restoration during this time. A really important thing to note is that we do a lot of the restoration, just about all of it here in Central Park, from buildings to statues to landscapes, and many of the things that have already been restored are coming up on their second or third restoration. It really goes to show that the restoration and caring for Central Park never ends. It's really an ongoing duty that we certainly all have to help with, and we certainly could not do this work in beautiful restoration without the support of really all of the wonderful people that help to use Central Park and make it what it is. So thank you everybody that helps to contribute to the Central Park Conservancy and allow us to continue this work. We're going to look at one last area before we end our walk. Before we go check out that building, I want to look at the rock, the over 500 million year old bedrock of New York, Manhattan Micah Schist. And this little rock features some steps carved on that allow us to walk up and view a little slide, a little natural rock slide. This slide could be used for kids or adults and would allow you to really just have some natural fun on this bedrock of New York. A really fun little feature put in by the designers of Central Park, Calvert Vaux and Frederick Law Olmsted. And as we walk up the stairs, we can see what sits on top of this small little mountain, Chess and Checkers House, another one of the 5 visitor centers you can find in Central Park, one that is currently closed, but when this building typically is open, you can rent out board games, learning materials, binoculars, books, and chess and checkers pieces. You can play those games inside or on one of the 24 mosaic chess and checker tables outside. And whether the building is open or not, you'll certainly see people outside playing chess and checkers, both people and animals. Of course, everybody's welcome here in Central Park. What we can see this area having been used for was something a little different. No chess or checkers was played here originally in the past, but what you would have found was the largest wooden structure in Central Park. Originally, this area was known as the Kinderberg. Kinderberg being German for Children's Play Mountain, Children's Play Area. And this was really just a giant tree house on top of this mountain of Manhattan Micah Schist. A fun little area for kids to climb around, maybe take a nap, or just explore all of these different kind of areas and caverns and little spots within this. Again, the largest wooden structure that existed in Central Park. And of course, it's not around any longer today, but we do have a little bit of tribute paid to it with the wooden pergola that sits around today's present Chess and Checkers building, getting its name from some of the beautiful wisteria vines that grow on this wooden structure, creating a beautiful little purple flower that bloom during the springtime. Before we end our walk, I just want to point out another amazing feature of the Children's District, which is its placement. Again, this is more of a nicknamed area. And what we see this area, again, going towards is really kids, because we see Central Park really allowing everybody to get some use out of it. When Central Park was being designed in the 1800s, they knew a lot of different types of people were going to be using this park. It can't just cater towards wealthy people or lower class people. It has to really take into account for everybody. The designers also realized that when this park would start to be used around the 1870s, most people still lived about at least 2 miles downtown. So that means a majority of the people were going to walk 2 or 3 miles to get to this park. You can imagine caregivers walking with kids to the park. Once they walk about 2 or 3 miles, they're probably not going to walk another mile to get to a playground. So the designers of the park very precisely created this area to have a lot of children's friendly features nearby. So when people would walk maybe 3 or 4 miles from below 14th Street all the way up to 60th Street, they'd be able to be greeted by a bunch of friendly kids features right nearby them. Just an amazing design for this area that even today allows people to more fluidly use the park and for everybody to find a use, kids included. So with this will bring us to a final little viewpoint. And I like this kind of nondescript little view looking over from the top of what would have been the Kinderberg. We've seen a couple of the past elements of the children's district, like what the Kinderberg looked like, the Carousel, which has taken a few different forms, some of the original playgrounds, and even some of the other types of zoo areas. Of course, today, plenty of modern additions to the zoos, to the playgrounds, to the recreation areas, and even visitor centers like Chess and Checkers. Of course, a lot to see, and this little view gives us a little bit of the southern section where we might enter the park to get the Hector Playground just tucked behind the trees, or maybe Hector ball fields over here, or maybe even if we glance over to our left and look over at the ice skating rink, or depending the season, Victorian Gardens. But no matter what you're coming to Central Park to do, and no matter what age you are, you can certainly find something fun and enjoyable to do here in the park. So this will bring us to the end of our walk. I again want to thank everybody for joining us. We love doing these virtual programs, and I'm sorry we had a little bit of a kind of internet technical troubles in the beginning there. Hopefully everything worked out. We'll try to get that all squared away for next time, but we encourage you to come back for next time because again, we do have all of these weekly walks continuing and planned for the next couple months. You can join Ian next week, who's going to be exploring around the north end, and he's going to be showing you a bit of that really cool Christmas tree lighting on the flotilla. We do also, again, have tomorrow a tree walk with myself. So if you didn't get enough of me, you can join me tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll tell you about the trees of Central Park, as well as that 5:15 holiday lighting tomorrow. And then Tuesday, December 8th at 3 p.m., a Crossing Central Park tour, as well as on Wednesday, December 9th, the continuing of the weekly walk series. If you do want to watch past weekly walk series, you can find those on our YouTube channel. And if you actually do check the chats right now, you can see my colleagues dropping some of those links online to help you more easily navigate our website, which is under construction. But a lot of different things to see and do in Central Park, and we're happy that you're seeing and doing them with us. If you do have any questions, I am going to leave this open for a few more minutes, and my colleagues will be on the back end answering any questions you might have. Everybody, thank you again so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next week. From all of us here at the Central Park Conservancy, stay safe and be well.